Hello, everyone. First, I can present myself. My name is Sofie Selvåg, and I work as a PhD research fellow at the Institute for Nature Research in Norway. It's also called NINA, and it's an independent foundation for nature research and research on the interaction between human society, natural resources, and biodiversity. So, holiday in times of crisis. What happened in the Norwegian mountains summer 2020? The COVID-19 pandemic has led to dramatic changes in the tourism industry, and Norway is no exception. One major change in Norwegian tourism in 2020 was that most Norwegians had their summer holiday in their own country rather than traveling abroad due to strict international travel restrictions. And data obtained in the early summer showed that 55% stated that they had to a less extent planned to have their holiday abroad, and also that many planned both car trips domestically and cabin and second home holidays, both private and in tourism cabins, and visits to family and friends elsewhere in the country than the year before. And the Norwegian tourism industry, for its part, expressed concern in the media that Norwegians alone would not contribute enough earnings when foreign tourists were absent. And in addition, it wasn't certain whether self-organized trips, use of motorhomes, tents, and private housing solution would mean changes in visitor volumes with associated greater pressure in popular nature areas. And before the summer of 2020, some Norwegian media reported that there would be a lot of people hiking in the mountains, and the media reports were based on surveys which showed that many Norwegians plan to visit popular hiking destinations, such as Lofoten and Geiranger, during the summer. And as many as 170,000 Norwegians has planned to go to Besseggen in 2020, which would be 3 times as many people compared with the previous years, where 65% of the visitors were foreigners. And nature managers and tourism actors and researchers expressed concern about traffic flow and crowding and capacity, and also sanitation and waste management, and the negative impact on vegetation and wildlife in nature areas. As you can see here, we have 2 pictures from 2 newspapers in Norway. And in the early summer of 2020, it was frequently encouraged by the health authorities that there were no restriction on walking outside. And it was reported in several media about a lot of people in popular hiking areas. For example, in Oslomarka, which is surrounding the capital of Norway. Also you can find it in mountain areas, increasing outdoor recreation activities in the population. And this was also confirmed by a study done by Wenter et al. In 2020, who found out that walking, running, hiking, and cycling increased almost 300% in Oslo in the first 2 weeks after the closure on March the 12th in 2020. And a follow-up study showed that the effect of increased nature use persisted beyond summer. Many Norwegians thus became more active in outdoor recreation activities as a result of COVID-19. And in this animation, you can see the average daily activity counted per trail segments over Oslo during 2 weeks pre and post lockdown. And the more the yellow, the more uses it. And you can also see after the pandemic hits that you use more of the nature areas than just down in the city. So the summer of 2020 has passed, and we have experienced that occasionally there has been a large number of visitors in some areas. And a survey conducted after the summer also showed that Norwegians tried out new outdoor activities in the summer of 2020. And in this survey, it was a national representative sample of people of the age of 18 was interviewed, and 6% of the women and 10% of the men stated that they had gone on their first hiking trip in the mountains in the summer of 2020. And this was the activity that most Norwegians reported having done for the first time. So this type of trend is interesting for discussing increasing socialization and recruitment to outdoor recreation activities. For the summer of 2020, it is therefore particularly interesting to look at the changes in the usage profile of visitors to mountain areas in Norway, here represented by the localities Besseggen and Folkerise. So Besseggen, you can see it here on the map of Norway with the picture. It is a mountain ridge in Vågå municipality in Inland County, east in Jotunheimen. And the trip of Besseggen is one of the most popular mountain hikes in Norway, and around 50,000 people hike this trip every year. It is 14 kilometers long, and it's classified difficult, and it takes about 8 hours. And Folkerise is a low ridge with a good view located in Vinje municipality in Vestfold and Telemark County. And there are many second homes nearby this attraction. It's about 2,000 second homes in the area. And it's a built Sherpa stairs that goes to Folkerise from the car park. And this trip is described as simple and family friendly. It's approximately 3 kilometers long, and most people go up and down the same path. We used traffic counters and also visitors service, and by comparing the data from the summer of 2020 collected through these questionnaires and the counters, we compared those to similar data from previous years. So we found a number of changes in the mountain tourism in Besseggen and Folkerise. And I can just say that on this picture, we see the boxes that had the questionnaire where people were asked if they could join the survey and answer some questions. And we also had the counters that counted the people walking on the trails. So here you see the data from the visitor counters. And we also have a table here showing the numbers. So both areas, you can see they experience a large decline in foreign tourists and a significant rise in Norwegian tourists. So despite the large rise in Norwegian tourists to Besseggen, the absence of foreign tourists caused the total visitor volume to decline by 28%, you can see here. Whereas in Folkerise, the proportion of foreign visitors was so low, so the increase of Norwegian tourists made the total number go up to 32% in the summer of 2020. So we asked the visitors if they used nature more in 2020, and 31% and 42% said that they didn't use the nature more. But the most people said that they used the nature near home more, and also visited nature attractions more in 2020 than normal. We also asked specifically about the hike that they were on, and it was ranging from 1 to 7 on a Likert scale. And most people said that they would have done the hike also without the pandemic, especially at Folkerise. But there were some percentages that said that they would not have done the hike if it wasn't for the pandemic. So the Norwegian visitors to these places in 2020, we saw an increase in first-time visitors, about 10% each place. And we also saw larger group sizes, with the groups being 3 people or more, and also those that were only used the marked trails increased. And we also use the wilderness purism scale, and that's a shortened and simplified and standardized scale, and it consists of 6 items covering attitudes towards specific physical service facilities, and 2 items covering social attitudes, and you can see them here. And the attitudes, they were measured with a 7-point Likert scale, ranging from 1 strongly detracted from to 7 strongly add to, with 4 being neutral. And the people who like and want facilities and also think it's okay to meet other people on a hike, they are considered low purists, whereas the people who don't want facilities and don't like seeing other people on their hikes, they are considered high purists. And we found that high purist individuals did not use mountain parks differently than in prior years, but low purists were both more abundant and more likely to report the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on their recreational choice and trip planning. So to sum it all up, the Corona summer has led to increased recruitment in outdoor life. There were more first-time visitors in both areas than before, and also some would not have visited the nature areas if it had not been for the travel restrictions due to the pandemic. And first-time visitors differ greatly from visitors that had been in an area several times, and that they have less knowledge of the place they are visiting, but also that they are more open to information that is given about the place. So it's important that the first-time visitors is prepared for the hike, and also that they know the safety measures. And the Nordic hikers' preference for nature and facilitation have changed a lot in recent decades in the direction of seeking areas with stronger degree of facilitation and service. Norwegians are increasingly connected to marked trails and installations that are designed to facilitate access to the nature experience. And in the material from the summer of 2020, we see a tendency for people to be even more attracted to attractions and to follow marked and prepared trails. And mega attraction seems to dominate the large volume of visitors to mountain areas. The increase in the number of visitors to such attractions is in many places very rapid and seems to persist. And for example, the Trolltunga, as an entrance to the Hardangervidda National Park, has about as many visitors as the sum of all of the about 100 entrances to the area. And these trends underline the need for management that facilitates good visitor experience, and at the same time, they manage to reduce the negative effects such volume of visits can have on nature. So I will just say thank you for listening, and I hope it was interesting.